Okay, welcome everyone, and thanks very much for showing an interest in Dumfries and Galloway Rape Crisis and Sexual Abuse Support Centre. This recording that we're sharing with you today is a follow-on from an online open evening that we held last week. We were aware that there's lots of pressures in the system right now across all sectors because of COVID and various other things. And so there were people who were really keen to attend that event that were unfortunately not able to come. So we thought it might be really helpful for us to repeat the information from that event today and record it so that you can listen to that in your own time. My name is Grace Cardozo. I'm the Managing Director of Sleeping Giants, and we're a small capacity building social enterprise working here in Dumfries and Galloway and across other parts of Scotland. And we've been on a journey supporting rape crisis here in Dumfries and Galloway for about a year now, helping them form their strategic plan, helping them to do a little bit of work on board and governance, and just generally helping them think about their direction of travel and how they might implement the Deliver an Equally Safe strategy as they move forward. So hopefully this will be a really interesting day for you today. We're going to hear from some of the staff about the work that they do, and then I'm going to introduce the strategic plan. We'll also hear from Lindsay from the board of the organisation. And part of the reason that we're wanting to share information with you guys today is also because we're very interested in hearing from women across the region who might be interested in joining the board of Dumfries and Galloway Rape Crisis and Sexual Abuse Support Centre. So we're also really keen for people to come forward with expressions of interest from that. So hopefully today will be really interesting for you today. But at the same time, you can always contact the organisation for more information if there's anything else that you need to know. But without further ado, I'll hand over to Claire, who will introduce herself and begin the process on behalf of the staff team.
Hi everybody, I'd just like to thank you all for showing interest and welcome you all to this event that we're recording today. It's great that we've been given the opportunity to record this. I'm Claire Torrance, I'm the Deputy Manager here at the Centre. I have been with the Centre for 3 years. We're a small but perfectly formed team, we'd like to think. We're all really dedicated to what we do. We have a vast experience, from people coming straight from college to being in other sectors and bringing some great experience to the team. So this event has been a long time in the planning with the help of Sleeping Giants, and we certainly couldn't have done it without them. We've faced a lot of challenges over the last year to 18 months with the COVID pandemic, but we've worked through them and we've continued to provide that support to survivors of sexual abuse and sexual violence throughout that time. Again, we're faced with challenges going forward, but we will continue that support, and we like to try and get the message out there that although the centre might not always be doing the face-to-face and we're not able to provide the services fully, we are here to provide that support. So like Grace mentioned there, if there's anything, if you just want to lift the phone to us, if it's not one of the team that can help you out, we will signpost you hopefully in the right direction, and we'll do our very best to do that. But going forward, we're developing the centre. We've got a lot of great ideas. We've got a lot of things that we want to do and we want to take forward. So in doing that, by recruiting new board members, you would hopefully be joining at quite a good and exciting time to take things forward from the future. So I think if possible, I'll hand on to Diane. It'll stop me rattling on a wee bit and you'll be able to hear about what everybody else does at the centre. So Diane.
Hi, I'm Diane Grimshaw. I'm an advocacy and support worker at the centre. I've been with the organisation since January 2020. I initially came on board as a support worker, but took up the role as the advocacy worker in August. As an advocacy worker, I support survivors through the criminal justice system. This can be for the very initial stages of reporting, an interview, right through to in-court support if it goes to trial. There's an element of an emotional support, what I do in my role too, and that is providing survivors with emotional support, helping them process their emotions, helping them understand helping them understand the impact of trauma. I really enjoy working with the team. I feel like I've really found my fit with Rape Crisis. We're a close-knit, hard-working team. Everybody in the team has the needs of the survivor at the heart of what they're doing. That is really refreshing. Of course, there's good days and bad days. We work with trauma on a daily basis, so vicarious trauma is something that's really apparent within the role. However, there's loads of support, and that really makes a difference. Being a working mum and a gran with a huge family and loads of family commitments to you, it's really good to have a job in a place that understands this and helps you carry out both roles effectively and relatively stress-free. I'll now hand you over to Michelle.
Thanks, Diane. My name is Michelle Wilkie. I am the youth support worker at Rape Crisis, and I've been with the organisation for nearly 3 years. It'll be 3 years at the end of February, beginning of March next year. Started off as the prevention worker and then moved into the support role. So I support people from the age of 12 to 25. And as Diane quite rightly says, there is a lot of trauma involved. So it's not an easy job by any means, but I work with a really supportive team. They're a great bunch, and if they've not got the answers, they find somebody that does. I think we're a great team, and I enjoy my job. I like working where I work, and I like the people I work with, which makes every day that bit easier. I shall hand you on now to, I think it's Shawnee, is it? Shawnee.
Thank you. Hiya, I'm Shawnee and I'm the Research and Development Intern, and I started back in June. And this internship is in collaboration with the University of Glasgow, where I studied health and social sector leadership. And the research that we're currently carrying out is looking at the needs, wants and viability of a befriending service within the centre. And it's for survivors that are either feel like they're ready to move on from one-to-one emotional support, or while using the service and receiving support already. We're hoping that this service will allow our support workers to take on some more survivors, as it will free up a bit of time, but it'll also help them as well, who are survivors who maybe feel isolated. So yeah, it'll be quite good for that. Again, like everyone else has said, it's a family, it's great. There's not a day you go by and work and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to be here. You just don't get that, so it's great. And yeah, I'm going to pass you on to Carmen.
My name's Carmen. I'm into my 9th year with the organisation now. I'm an advocacy worker, but I started off doing prevention work. I worked in our refuge while we had a refuge, and now I do advocacy work, which is like Diane, supporting people who've reported to the police and just kind of providing some practical support, like making witness impact statements or going with them to court appearances or police interviews, that kind of thing. But there is also that emotional part of it as well, which is kind of twofold. It's like helping them with emotions attached to the trauma that they've endured, but also with a court case, which can be quite a big deal for survivors. And I think, like everybody said, that we absolutely love our jobs, all of us, which is weird because normally when you say I work at Rape Crisis to someone, they're like, oh, I bet that's a bit hard, or I bet that's difficult or whatever. And it is difficult. You hear some horrible things, but we all absolutely love our jobs. I've never worked in anywhere that's so kind of supportive and that's so, like Diane was saying, understanding that women have families and other responsibilities. Like I've got 2 toddlers, and sometimes I have to leave work early to go and get them, or if they're sick from nursery or whatever, and there's just never any problems with that. Everybody just kind of mucks in, and if someone needs to go somewhere and do something, then it's absolutely fine. And now I'll hand you over to Cara.
Thank you, Carmen. So hi, my name's Cara. I've worked for the organisation for exactly a year today. And I feel like I remember that because it's the day that I started a job that I just adore, and working with a team that I love. So I've got 2 roles within the service. I do initial support coordination, which is taking the referrals, managing the waiting list, and figuring out where the best support for our survivors lies, either within our organisation or out with. My other role that I do is the prevention, so that's the sexual violence prevention worker within Dumfries and Galloway. I'm very lucky to have had Michelle and Carmen do that role before me, so I have so much kind of information at my fingertips and support within the role. The job is basically working with young people, mainly in schools. There's 16 schools in Dumfries and Galloway, and it's going in and having different discussions around different subjects, from what sexual violence is to consent and healthy relationships. And it's great. It's fantastic to be able to go in and have a kind of array of different conversations with young people, and hopefully teach them something, but also be able to learn something different every day from the job. And yeah, as I feel like all of my colleagues have summed up, the support in our office is unreal, and we just have that advice and support at our fingertips daily, which makes what can be a challenging job a lot easier. So yeah, thank yous all. Lindsay, we'll pass over to you now.
Thank you, Cara. Hi, everybody. My name's Lindsay Fitzpatrick. I'm one of the trustees for Dumfries and Galloway Rape Crisis, and have been since approximately 2017. I just wanted to start by saying thank you for those who've taken an interest in our organisation. The staff, both the staff and the team at Sleeping Giants, have worked really hard on pulling everything together, both for the previous event and for this recording. And thank you to all of the staff that have shared their experiences today. I hope that starts to bring to life some of the work that is undertaken within the organisation. Within my day job, I lead on the equality and diversity work for a local public organisation, and have a real interest in women's equality and eliminating gender-based violence. I feel really strongly that no one should face sexual violence in their lifetime, and the numbers of women who are subject to gender-based violence is completely unacceptable. We know that gender inequality is both a cause and consequence of gender-based violence, and I firmly and passionately believe that there's a role for everyone to play in eliminating this. We also know that the risk of gender-based violence has increased during the pandemic, so for me, I think services that support women in particular are more crucial than ever. Rape crisis services and support are organisations that are personally very close to my heart. And I felt like I had something to offer to support our local organisation in its work around supporting survivors and their families, as well as the absolutely key work around education and prevention work. I also feel very passionate about the voice of survivors being heard, and that includes people from all backgrounds and all walks of life. In terms of my role as a trustee, I've seen this organisation go from strength to strength in the time that I've been involved, and that's so much down to the staff and the team that work for the organisation. It's not been without various challenges, but I think at the moment it's a really exciting time to join the board. We've been working with Sleeping Giants, our local organisation, who've supported us in the development of our vision and mission statement, as well as the strategic plan. And I think everyone would agree that we wouldn't have got to where we are without their support. During the time that I've been a board trustee, the organisation has been working, the sort of board members have been involved in various pieces of work. So recruiting and developing what's a really hard-working, absolutely dedicated team that meet the needs of survivors. We've moved more than once to premises that are more fit for purpose for both the staff and survivors and their families and people who are supporting them. I hope that we have consistently led with sort of compassionate leadership and, you know, in that sort of supportive and flexible role. And I think the board and, you know, personally, I'm in both my work life and in this role are very committed to ensuring that there's a positive experience for the staff who work here and that people feel valued for the work that they do. We've strengthened links to local long-held partnerships, but also developed new ones with other local and national organisations. And as a board, we're absolutely committed to ensuring that everyone's experience is feminist-led, trauma-informed and always survivor-centred. What we really need at the moment is women to join our board with a diverse range of skills to support us, providing strong, effective governance and overseeing and supporting the work that the fantastic staff team are achieving locally. We're looking for a diverse range of skill sets. So if you know, particularly people with a background in, for example, finance, HR, strategic work, but ultimately just people who have an interest and want to commit to being involved. So what is involved? Regular board meetings that take place approximately 6 to 8 times a year. These meetings were historically face-to-face in the premises before COVID, but have more recently been moved to online. There's opportunities for specific training, that sometimes training that's developed locally or training that's developed by national organisations. So for example, there's been opportunities to go to a session on feminist governance. It's a voluntary role, but any travel expenses and any expenses incurred for training and development are covered. And as I say, this is like a really exciting time to get involved and to further develop and support the implementation of our new 5-year strategic plan and the operational delivery plan, and have a role in shaping the direction of travel in the future. So thank you for listening. Please feel free to get in touch for more information or an informal discussion, but like most of all, please consider getting involved and joining us on our board. So I think it's back over to Cara next. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. So a couple of the team are going to read some quotes from survivors, and these are quotes from survivors that have used our service. Thank you so much for everything you've done and continue to do for people. You made this whole process so much easier. I will be forever grateful to your service.
And my quote says, "This is the first time in so many years that I have felt there is hope and that I deserve that hope."
My quote is, "It's such a great service. Thank you for being there for my child, for respecting my position and not judging either of us."
And mine says, "If it wasn't for your service, I wouldn't be here now. I'd have been gone many times. Thank you."
Okay, powerful stuff, and thanks very much indeed to the staff team and to Lindsay from the board for, as I think Lindsay said, bringing to life the organisation. Clearly a hugely dedicated group of women doing a vital providing a vital service to children, young people, families, women, male survivors as well. Across the region, and critically doing all of that prevention work and advocacy work, which I wasn't even aware the organisation did before getting involved. So a huge range of work happening, and real opportunities if you feel powerless sometimes to prevent, to know how to prevent or tackle sexual violence, you know, and don't have a lot of time, and have got your own jobs and lives going on. The board is also a really good way in which you can really make a difference, you know, in a slightly more limited time commitment, but also still really important in terms of driving the organisation forward. So we've talked quite a bit today about the strategic plan. And so I'm just going to talk you a little bit through the process of how we develop the strategic plan and what the bones of that plan looks like. So as a new board member, your role would be to help oversee and monitor the delivery of the strategic plan that the very capable and effective staff team would be implementing on a daily basis. So I will just share my screen now, and hopefully the technology will work. Okay, I'll maybe get folks to give me a wee nod that you can see that okay. Great. So, and is that full screen now, folks? Yeah, great. So the timescale of the strategic plan then is 21 to 26. So, you know, obviously it's a bit of a kind of working document and will be reviewed by the board at various points throughout the process, but we anticipate that it will cover a 5-year period. In terms of just talking you through the journey about how we developed that plan, and it was a journey. The starting point for that journey always had to be feedback from stakeholders. So, you know, whether that be partners, the staff and board, the survivors, etc. So establishing the need was the starting point for that journey. And then from that initial kind of engagement and mapping and reviewing the literature, we worked together to develop a vision, and your vision is your ultimate goal or desired future. So if everything was if we had a perfect world, what would that look like? And I'll share what the vision is in just a moment. From the vision, so that's the overarching direction of travel that underpins everything. We developed a mission for the organisation, and that's what is the unique role that Rape Crisis and Dumfries and Galloway has, as opposed to other organisations, in achieving that vision. And again, I'll talk you through that in a moment. I think you can probably tell already from having listened to the team that values are critically important to Rape Crisis. They're not just a bunch of pretty words. They are literally the way in which this organisation, wants to work, and the principles that they uphold on a daily basis. And those values set the culture of the organisation, and they underpin everything else that they do. And we'll talk you through them in a minute as well. Slightly more achievable than the vision, because again, the vision is the dream state. It was important for us to think about what positive differences does the organisation actually want to make, and that's what the organisation is measured against. So it's not just about measuring how many sessions are run with survivors and how many people come through the door. The organisation ultimately has to be making a difference, and so the outcomes that we've set are what the organisation will hold itself to account in terms of delivering. So what positive changes will be brought about for the stakeholder group. So obviously survivors being key there, partner organisations and the wider communities of Dumfries and Galloway. And then thinking if that's the differences that we want to make, what are the core areas of work that the organisation will focus on? And you've already heard a little bit about some of those kind of core areas of work today. And then lastly, but not least, thinking about the day-to-day activities that the organisation will actually undertake. And that, Lindsay talked about the operational plan, the operational delivery plan. Those activities are located within that plan there. So if we just think about kind of basing the plans on that feedback or established need, then where did we get that kind of baseline of need from? Well, early doors in the process, we undertook a SurveyMonkey questionnaire with staff, volunteers, board members, and a number of critical friends to the organisation, really to look at what the strengths and areas of improvement were, what people envisioned for a dream future, what people envisioned the mission should be, what types of changes, all of those kind of bits of the journey that I talked about before, we asked people about in that first SurveyMonkey questionnaire. The organisation also takes regular statistical and other collects statistical and other data as part of their process through established Rape Crisis Scotland mechanisms, and constantly capture information from survivors. So that was also used to feed into the process. The organisation is part of a nationally group of organisations which help implement and deliver the Equally Safe strategy, and so that again underpins that national strategy underpins the work of the organisation and all of its kind of associated reports, and so that was used to feed into the process too. And then really importantly, because there's women around the table here who've been doing this job for a long time and others who are doing lots of other pieces of work and come from a wide variety of backgrounds, etc. The perspective of the staff team who know the work and the survivors inside out has also been really important in developing this strategy moving forward. So if that's the need, what was the vision then? So ultimately, what is it that we're trying to achieve, or that Rape Crisis is trying to achieve? And so remember, the vision piece should be really aspirational. It's like, what would be the perfect world? And Lindsay, you kind of articulated this a little bit in your bit, which is that ultimately we should all expect to live in a world without gender-based violence, rape and sexual abuse and gender inequality. If we're not working towards that ultimate goal, then what are we working towards? So that, if everything was perfect, this is the vision that Rape Crisis have for the way the world, and certainly Dumfries and Galloway would look. And I think it's a vision that we can all hopefully buy into. And we talked a wee bit more about, well, what would that actually look like then? And so underneath that kind of vision are again some really high level aspirations. So this is a world where women hold positions of power, where all people feel safe, equal and valued, where women's voices hold the same weight as men's, where women are in charge of their sexual choices, where men treat women and girls with respect, where sexual jokes and remarks are unacceptable, where we live in a non-judgmental world, where people are free to be themselves and live their lives as they choose, where women don't have to fight to be heard or seen, where violence against women has been eradicated, and where nobody fears the dark. And so that's what the world would look like, hopefully, if we manage to get anywhere close to that vision. And so if that's the future, that's where we're all working towards, what is the unique role of rape crisis in Dumfries and Galloway then? And so that's what helped us establish the organisation's mission. So this is the doing piece, and really a mission statement should capture who an organisation serves, what they hope to serve them, and how they do it every single day. And so the mission of rape crisis in Dumfries and Galloway is to help make this future vision a reality. Our mission is to become a centre of excellence for specialist sexual violence prevention and support work. And already the organisation is our local centre of excellence, and I think you can see that from the staff members talking. And so that centre of excellence would provide safe specialist services and support to survivors of rape and sexual abuse. They would educate and empower people in communities across Dumfries and Galloway to prevent sexual violence and promote equality and justice, and using those gendered, survivor-centred and trauma-informed approaches that are best practice to underpin all of that. And so that's the mission of this organisation. And we're very lucky to have the organisation in our region working hard towards all of these points in their mission. So again, the values of the organisation, not just a bunch of pretty words, but actually the core principles that underpin all the work that they do. And these women really do live these values on a day-to-day basis. You can see that, I think, from even hearing from them. So to be survivor-focused and trauma-informed, to be feminist, both in terms of their approach with service users, but also in supporting staff as well. To strive for equality, inclusion and human rights, to be brave, and it is brave to do this work every day. It's not easy. To be empathic, non-judgmental and stigma-free, to be honest and to have integrity, to be trusted, safe and confidential, and you can imagine how important that is to survivors, and to be an organisation which believes and values survivors as a fundamental value as well. So these are all really important. So in terms of the core activity areas then, and these kind of link to that mission, there are three main core activity areas. So obviously, as you might imagine, there are services and support for survivors. So that's where a range of staff provide a wide range of specialist trauma-informed survivor-focused services where, when and how they need them. And of course, the offices are based in Dumfries, but this is a region-wide service, don't forget that. And the organisation does work with partners to ensure that they're providing services right the way across the region. Really important as part of that, though, if we're going to eradicate violence against women and girls and sexual-based violence, is the prevention and education programme. So providing a range of engaging and educational information and activities in the community and with partner agencies, not least with young people, but across the community as well, and within organisations. All of these are designed to raise awareness of and tackle the issues surrounding gender-based and sexual violence. So a really important part of the work as well. And then for any strong third sector organisation or organisation as a whole, it's really important, and this is where new board members would fit in as well, it's really important to have robust management and governance. That really has to support and hold the other work safely within robust practices. So ensuring the effectiveness of the organisation through effective business support and planning, financial management and opportunities for board and staff. So those are the three core activity areas of the organisation then. So what about outcomes for services and support for survivors? So underneath each of these core activity areas are a set of kind of higher level, more strategic and intermediate outcomes. So these are the differences that the organisation wants to make. So in relation to survivors, one of the key outcomes is that all people who've experienced sexual violence are identified earlier, and this partnership work is important as part of this as well, where agencies work better together to provide joined up pathways to services and support. So that partnership work is really important. And then thinking about the next one, the safety, well-being and wider needs of people who've experienced sexual violence are met through access to a range of safe, high-quality, trauma-informed and person-centred services and support. Lots of that being online and by phone at the moment, but also, one-to-one and other ways when that's possible. And we've heard a lot about this as well today, so that people who've experienced sexual violence feel safer and more supported to report and seek justice, whether that be reporting to the police, whether that be going right through to court proceedings. The organisation will support people to do that. And then Lindsay, I think, talked about survivor voices. So this one being really important too. People who have experienced sexual violence have a stronger individual and collective voice, with more opportunities to give their views and be actively involved in decision making, both within the organisation, but also within their local community and in the development of other services, etc. And then making sure that the organisation is inclusive as it can be, because there are, of course, barriers for groups, different groups across the region, making sure that people who've experienced sexual violence and the services are more accessible and inclusive and better able to support individuals from protected characteristic groups, whether that be Black and minority ethnic women and male survivors, whether that be young people, whether that be disabled people, whether it be rural aspects, etc., and those with complex needs. So that's a real commitment of the organisation too. So we hope that, and all of the work is mapped underneath these outcomes, and we hope that if these outcomes are achieved, then ultimately what it will mean is that over time, the negative impacts of sexual violence and survivors are reduced, and survivors feel safer and have improved health and well-being, more able to thrive in other areas of their lives. So that is the outcomes for survivors. So thinking about the outcomes for prevention and education then, because ultimately, again, this whole prevention aspect is really important. Ultimately, I suppose it sounds strange, but in some ways, a Bet Rape Crisis wishes that services and support for survivors was not required, because ultimately there wasn't sexual violence, but we're not there yet. And so the prevention and education is a really important part as well, so that people in communities of Dumfries and Galloway have increased awareness and understanding of healthy relationships and consent, and all forms of sexual violence and gender inequality. And again, the schools work is really instrumental in making sure that is the case for young people. That people in communities of Dumfries and Galloway are more able to actively challenge all forms of sexual violence, including stigma towards people who have experienced that. And that's, us being able to challenge that in our own lives, but feeling confident and able to do that. And the organisations across all sectors are more aware of the work of Rape Crisis and have more understanding of the range and impact of all forms of sexual and violence, meaning that those organisations themselves are able to improve their responses to people who've experienced sexual violence. And so that feels really important too. And then if these outcomes are achieved, we hope that over time, people in communities of Dumfries and Galloway feel more empowered to embrace equality and mutual respect, and to prevent and reject all forms of sexual violence. And all of these things, again, will help us move closer, inch by inch, towards that vision that we talked about at the start. So the last area in terms of outcomes and part of that core services is the outcomes for management and governance. And this is all kind of internally focused stuff now then. So the board of Rape Crisis is accountable to its members and the local community, and it provides excellent governance to ensure that the charity manages risk and is run ethically, legally, efficiently and effectively. And so part of today is about trying to help improve that outcome by trying to encourage more women to come forward as board members. That the organisation has a confident, knowledgeable and skilled team, or continues to have a confident, knowledgeable and skilled team, because we already know that the team are very, very knowledgeable, skilled and confident, with effective leadership policies, systems and processes which keep people safe and help support our work for the benefit of staff, volunteers and survivors. For any third sector organisation, this is really important that the organisation has the required funding, revenue and resources which enable it to achieve its aims now and in the future. And I think it's a real plus that Rape Crisis here in Dumfries Galloway was one of the only organisations to be fully funded under the Deliver an Equally Safe Fund that they applied for recently, which just shows how both how needed and how trusted and effective the organisation is viewed nationally as well. That the organisation has effective business support functions, including admin, finance, IT, asset management, etc. That the organisation has an effective outreach and promo and comms strategy, which allows them to reach and engage with all members of the community. And really importantly as well, that the organisation continues to be a learning organisation, which understands stakeholder need, effectively monitors, evaluates, reflects on its work and involves all stakeholders in that monitoring, evaluation and planning to drive improvements forward. And so again, all of the kind of internal functions are mapped underneath these outcomes, and we hope that over time this means that the organisation will remain a professional, effective, sustainable and values-driven, very specialist charity, which demonstrates best practice in leadership, management, business support and governance. So in terms of kind of lastly then, in terms of delivering and monitoring the plan, and again the board members will be actively involved in this, the strategic plan that I've sort of described today is the overarching document which will inform the work of the organisation for at least the next 5 years really. The vision will be, probably a lifetime vision for all of us and beyond, I imagine. And underneath that, as I've described as well, sits that operational delivery plan. And so that's where all of the kind of activities and targets sit, and the staff and the teams draw their individual and team work plans from that. The board also has its own work plan that will be drawn from that operational plan as well. And then kind of linking into what I've just said there, within this operational plan, underneath that section on management and governance, sits the organisational improvement plan. So the board did a bit of work using the Scottish Code for third sector governance and its associated checkup tool to really look at the governance as it stands at the moment, what the areas of strength were, what needed to be improved, and we've developed that into an improvement plan for the organisation and for the governance, which sits within that operational plan under that management and governance theme. So again, as new board members, you would be part of helping to drive the improvements forward there. And then in terms of reporting, staff report on their progress through regular support and supervision sessions using new templates which have been developed, which partly talk about the work that they've done, but also, critically talk about how they're doing and what support they need and all of that as well. The management team, Jill and Claire, collate this feedback quarterly, and that's reported to the board, again using those agreed templates. And then once a year, the plan is to review the operational and strategic plan annually, and to do a bit of kind of evaluation with service users, staff, volunteers and other stakeholders, just to find out how well the organisation is delivering on its plans. So that's a very quick canter through the framework that the organisation is delivering to, and as a board member, how you will be kind of holding the staff members to account and how you'll be supporting them. But I think just as importantly as the plan is just knowing where the organisation is and how to get in touch with them. So whether it be that you're interested in joining the board, whether it be that you're just interested in finding out a wee bit more about the organisation, if you would like to get the prevention team in to come and talk to your organisation or group or school, if you have a referral to make to the organisation, if you just want to pick up the phone and get a bit of advice about how you might get involved, then this is how you can get in touch. If you want to volunteer in the befriending project that Shawnee's kind of working towards, any way in which you feel that you can support the organisation, or you feel that the organisations that can support you, then please do get in touch. But I suppose, last but not least, we just want to thank you very much for listening, and we want to reiterate that ask, I suppose, to say if there are any women out there who are interested from any part of the region, because now that the meetings are online, you can be in the far-flung outskirts of Dumfries and Galloway and still be able to really help support this organisation moving forward, then please do get in touch. The first stage is to fill out an expression of interest form, which is literally just that. It's just saying that you might be interested, and then we can get in touch with you to have a more of a chat. And then if you still feel interested after that, you'll be sent out a fuller trustee recruitment pack. But we would really encourage you to get in touch. I think
sorry to butt in a wee bit there. It was just to mention that when you spoke about Jill Osborne, our manager, is unable to be here today, but she really welcomes the fact that this event's taken place, or did take place last week, and that we're doing this today. She's really keen to recruit some new board members with the future of the organisation in mind, and again, is happy that the staff have put all this together with a view to going forward in the future. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Claire. So thanks for listening, everyone, and please do get in touch if you'd like to express interest or if you'd just like to find out a wee bit more.
Thank you.